And ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Sri Steve Bhotia to set the context of the session and deliver an address on 30 cents of tourism as an essential tool for conservation. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have been one who has continuously making presentations, bringing to the audience images of my part of the country. But today, for some reason, I chose just to speak and speak my heart. For me, all that we've been discussing is a very natural issue, which should have been a part of all of us. And I find India struggling to be there. I came back to India after Rio in '92, and we are struggling for some reason. But I must also admit that for me, the definition for sustainability is very simple. When something connects with some space, we need to take care that there is no hurt. We need to see that the ecological coexistence, and that is as simple as that. Sometimes I fear if we are complicating the concept. From '92, I've been traveling back, and I realized ancient India was so sustainable, responsible, and regenerated. About 3 years ago, in Tamil Nadu, a beautiful mint palace was being broken. A palace designed in Rajasthan, in Bikaner, brought to Chennai by the then gold coin minter hired by the East India Company. Even the frills and the grills were carved out of stone. One of the best palaces. I've always been a keen admirer of palaces, but this is one of the best I've seen. On the street called the Mint Street next to the railway station. Probably the government did it when to expand the road. I couldn't take it. I went to court. We then had to go to the Supreme Court. After 7 years, we lost it. But the judge who heard the case was so understanding. He bargained with the owner and got me the palace for about 4.5 crores. We bought it, removed it stone by stone, and carried it to another location nearly 500 kilometers away, because that's where I had space. We carefully realigned the palace just in 2 months' time. What surprised me was that there was not a debris in that location. We did not see any debris, because the architecture, the construction was so. No cement, no line mortar, nothing. It was stone over stone, and it was a building designed on friction and had no foundation. This was our culture. This was our practice. And today, if you have to remove one building from the spot, you will leave tons and tons of debris. It surprises me, a country like that, of that magnitude. Sustainability is encapsulated with our practices, our attitude, our day-to-day life. But still, today, we don't feature in the top 100 destinations. I think one of our first challenges should be to get into that and then move closer. Hindu pontiff Shankaracharya of Kanchimat once told me, I was discussing sustainability with him in 1982. He just shut me up. He's a man of few words. He said, don't stop, do. I took that very seriously from that day and I started practicing that. Great things have happened within my business, within my effort. But when I try to do it with the state, with the center, I see so many missions that we go through that we are talking the same thing. I will pull out any number of documents. Friends, I am not criticizing anything. I am talking with a lot of concern. And you will realize what I am talking. There was one minister by name Mr. Chakmohan, great person. We had a similar meeting in 1993 where he said, why are we wasting our time talking things that we don't have to? Leave the ozone hole, leave the ecology, leave this. Let's create 4 to 5 destinations in India. A beautiful document was enumerated. Hardcore was the road agency, and the project started in exactly 13 days' time. I don't know where he got the money, how he got the money. He said that he find about 300 crores for each project. 5 destinations. One was Vaishno-Devi, 2 was Mahabalipuram, 3 was a hill station. He was dilly-dallying between Yerkod in South India and Manali in the north. 2 more locations, I don't remember. But he completed Vaishno-Devi. He had a set of volunteers with him. From the trade, from the bureaucracy. Every weekend we met there and we worked. Vaishno-Devi was completed. Then we moved to Mahabalipuram. It's unfortunate that nearly 7 crores was spent to make the master plan, but before he could execute, his party lost power. I think after now 35 odd years, I request Honorable Secretary to kindly look into that as an approach. The way he did, the way he streamlined it, the way he got a team together, and the way it was executed. It was much appreciated during those days. And in Mahabalipuram, he cleared the pathway dwelling, he cleared the shops. Day and night he would sit and negotiate with the shop for us. That was a tough job. Unfortunately, after he left, the new incumbent wanted to change Mahabalipuram into a nice destination, and with which that project failed. There was no need to follow it up until today. The degeneration that has happened in that town is terrible. Now, getting back to where we are now, I think as a country, we need to see and address this issue. As a country, I'm always surprised. I watched the question answer session in the Parliament, in the Rajya Sabha as well. It surprises me. Not many questions on tourism surface there. They're always talking about education, health, and economy and things like this. Not good. When I strongly believe, and I have proved, that tourism is a one-stop shop and a magic wand for development. Forget it as tourism for people, for tourists who are coming. We need it as a country, we need it as a country. Our villages need it. If you want to set the per capita of the villages, of the rural area, 80% of our people are, it is this that we need to follow. And I'm not talking, 20 years ago, I would have been reading, but today I'm not talking. I have solid statistics. So many of you have come, you should come and see what has happened in one place. I'm not talking about one small pocket, I'm talking about the whole. But per capita income has moved moved from 4.03 US dollars per family per month to well over 600 US dollars per family. And that's the development our country is today. And while we are in Pakistan, we make sure it is done responsibly, done sustainably, and done reasonably. We have learned a lot. We have learned a lot. I think if you are looking at it as a country, we need to reimagine India. I'm very confident the youth will do that. The younger generation will do that. Somewhere we slack it. We slack it because of alien administration that was here, who didn't understand us, we slack it. But our youth are so responsible and they will take us back. That fear is not there. But from now to the next 20 years is what frightens me, because a lot of degeneration happens and destruction happens. The number of palaces that are getting destroyed, farmlands being used for non-farm purposes, too much. Cultures being dashed, traditions being lost, and that is what needs to be protected immediately. And we need to take a step there. Even if we, in this process, where we are reimagining India, that process, the very process can be showcased to the world. The world would enjoy India being reimagined, because India's regeneration is also a concern for many, many countries. Recently, I was in a conference, a Swedish lady made such a beautiful presentation of the most beautiful countries losing its shine, and she put India on that. I was so happy to see those pictures, that the world is concerned about us. If only we could make that reimagining process, the stories that emerge from there, the drama that emerges from there, and link it to our history, India will be a different country. Totally a different country. I started my business in South India, normal tourism. I sold timeshare. At a point of time, I felt guilty. I sold that company. I said, no, I will be in the smallest village with the biggest investment I can do in the most responsible manner. We created a hotel out of 3 villages that have had no footfall for the last 120 years. Some commercial, some Muslim private commercial. And we reset those villages on the same foundation. Today, ladies and gentlemen, that's one of the finest hotels to visit. We are responsible, we are highly regenerative. Ecologically, we are very sound. What Corona did to us is phenomenal. During Corona, we went 100%. Today, our ARRs are shorter because that's the product people are looking at. Sometime back I was concerned, would I have rooms when the inbound traffic comes in? But then, people tell me that the domestics will start looking at outbound, but then let me tell you, domestic have tasted what is rural tourism. They've tasted what it is to be responsible. They've tasted what it is to be regenerated. One great argument and observation is that tourism after Corona is family tourism, and nobody would want to miss this. Our guests are no more bathing in the beautiful bathrooms we give them in their home. They want to bathe in the river, they want to bathe in a palm sunset. Unimaginable. But we did that as children, but they could not do. But now people are going back there. So these stories will give us that market share that we need. But they need to be very responsible. Second feature, that this is where true development is. Let's not look at tourism as a platform for tourists to come in and enjoy themselves. I think this is what is going to develop this country and take care of 80% of our population, 80% of our land space, and all our villages. I'm very, very confident about. That's something that we need as a country. That's part of development. We need as a country. If tourism does not offer something to the local community, I firmly believe it is not fair to them. It is not. For whom are we developing? For some outside guests to come in and have a good time and go back? No. Let's make our own people, let's make our local community deliver that. Let they be the delivery point. Let them teach our foreigners to plant coconut trees. Let them teach the foreigners to treat coconut without a coconut, without a straw. Let them teach them to ride the bullock carts. Let them teach them how to do the local dance. Let them earn that money. Let them be the supplier. And this, I believe, should be our future. What are we selling all these days? We are selling temples, palaces, jungles, trees, monuments. Who created all this? Who created all this? Some people. But honestly, I think on one side, we need to look at creating products. In tourism, we need to create products. That's the setup. Tourism is not developed in this country. In any platform we sit, I find my colleagues from the travel trade, the tour operators, always bargaining for this, that, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to. And they took tourism to where we are. Yes, of course, the hoteliers are there. We keep building about our taxes, we keep talking about our bar license, we keep talking about it, taking them. But have we created products? Vaishnav got repaired. He preserved it, he conserved it. The new Statue of Unity, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, that's a product. What we do around that can be a terrific product. The sustainability there, the conservation. But we have not actually created products. And we as a country could do mighty wonder creating a product every month. Every month we could create a product. Imagine if there was a World Center for Yoga in the Northeast. That would take care of so much. We'll keep the lace of the place. We'll keep the ecology of the place. Responsible people will be there. More than anything, it will take those children who have been driven out of the place back to the Northeast. Somebody recently referred that as a human rights issue. Most of the children between 18 and above are out of their parents' reach or home for most of the time in the year. They spend only 12.5 days back home. It's not the right thing. We have failed to create the infrastructure to provide them an opportunity to work in their own hometown. So these are issues that as a country, I think India needs, and we need to look at product as a top option. I don't think we even repair some great monuments, like Mahabalipuram is a classic example. It needs so much of attention, and having said all this, I request the Secretary of Tourism and his team to look at going back to that old proposal of developing 5 great responsible destinations in this country, along with the private field. There are quite a few people in this hall who have put their time, money, and talent to help the country, and I'm sure they are still waiting. And we have unfortunately, I don't know, I won't say selfishly, we have taken over forts, palaces, villages, territory, destinations, and converted them into our business profile. Honestly, we make a lot of money. Fortunately, we have been very responsible. We spend it back on the destination. The destination I'm talking about has 637 primary schools, and all schools have a toilet. There are no beggars. There are no unemployed people. The railway station has been declared India's best kept railway station. The town itself can be declared, but for some reason we are waiting. There is a garbage solid waste treatment plant, 100% solid waste, the whole thing. With this, I'm sure we can easily copy, and I think this could be a quicker way of moving forward to do and not just keep talking. Many people might get impatient, and I wish you all the best in this endeavor, and you will have all of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vishnu. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our next eminent speaker, Sri Premdas Rai, served as a member of the Parliament from Sikkim in the 15th and the 16th Lok Sabha, India's lower house of Parliament from 2009 to 2019, and the state sole elected representative. And he is the senior political figure in Sikkim and nationally. Currently, he is the president of the Integrated Mountain Initiative (IMI) and is also the member of the governing councils of the Center for Environmental Health and ISC-led Future Earth, and a member of the advisory council of the Population Foundation of India. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Sri Premdas Rai, former MP and president of Integrated Mountain Initiative, to share his thoughts and experience on how environmental sustainability can lead to carbon neutral destinations by making optimal uses of the environmental resources to maintain the essential ecological processes and to conserve natural heritage and biodiversity. Over to you.
Respected Honorable Senator Rakesh Nagmati from the Ministry of Tourism, Mr. Rakesh Mathur from RTSOI, Professor Alok Sharma, Sandeep Singh Soil, Alok Bagai, friends from the days, as well as I see Mr. G.P. Upadhyay from Secretary Tourism from Sikkim. And I like to thank the organizers for inviting me here so that we can share some of our insights that we have gleaned over time with all the distinguished people who are present here, all stakeholders at the end. So in this summit, I've been given a very interesting topic, which is one of the pillars that Mr. Rakesh Nagmati talked about in his national strategy on sustainable tourism, which is how environmental sustainability can lead to carbon neutrality and carbon neutral destination. Now, this is a very interesting topic from the point of view that on the one hand, we do know that tourism leads to a net positive carbon emission or carbon footprint that we keep talking about. But on the other hand, we want to also try and see how we can either bring it down or add offsets so that we are able to make it carbon neutral. Now, first and foremost, since I'm here as the president of the Integrated Mountain Initiative, on behalf of IMI, I'd like to congratulate the Ministry of Tourism for bringing up this excellent national strategy for sustainable tourism. And the reason that I say so is not what is written in it, but just the intent. The intent that we have to do something about our tourism, which, if it is left as business as usual, is going to be catastrophic. Recently, and I think Mr. Upadhyay will know, that because of the heat wave in the plains, the number of tourists that visited the mountains was just phenomenal. I've never seen the kind of tourists who have visited Gangtok. So much so that local people there started complaining that they did not get taxis or they did not get to their work and destination because all the taxis were already deployed with visiting tourists who obviously paid a lot more for not only the hotel rooms but also for the transport. Now this is something, when you actually look at this as a phenomenon, and this I believe happened in all the mountain destinations. Now this is something, if you look at it from the point of view of just climate change, you will see that it is something which is not sustainable. It's not possible for us to keep on building the capacity, building the kind of carrying capacity, if you want to call it that, because millions of tourists will be visiting, or millions of people who are seeking relief from the plains, the heat of the plains, and this kind of problem, or this kind of driver, if you want to call it that, will be increasingly so as we move along. So the problem is very well defined. The problem is also there on the ground. You can see it, you can feel it, and it is entirely visible. So this national strategy on sustainable tourism, like I said, is hugely welcome. And from the point of view of the Integrated Mountain Initiative, I not only welcome it, I wholeheartedly, on behalf of IMI, whose vision, by the way, vision of IMI is to make India proud of its mountains. And if we see the kind of what is happening in the mountains, it's not, I'm sure we're not going to be proud of the mountains. So therefore, we embrace this national strategy on sustainable tourism, and we not only embrace it, we take it forward with all the stakeholders as we go along. Tomorrow is 5th June, and it is the World Environment Day. Sweden is the lead country this year, and the theme is Only One Earth. And so, the writing on the wall, as far as climate change, global warming, Agenda 21, what we have to do by 2050, 2070, what our Prime Minister has also committed to, and the country therefore is committed to, is also very, very important. So, with this kind of vision and mission of the sustainability strategy of the Government of India, I think we just have to start moving forward, and therefore carbon neutrality in destinations comes in at a better stage. Let me tell you that in 2020, there was in Leh, Ladakh, a whole summit which was on carbon neutrality of Ladakh. And that is something which was spearheaded by the Lieutenant Governor on the advice of the Prime Minister. So we can see that this whole term, carbon neutrality, is moving in a way in which it is becoming mainstream as a thought, as an idea. But how do we really get to that point? And for that, let me go back to Sikkim, from where I come. And in 2017, there was a report which was done by Shakti Foundation and by the IORA Ecological Solutions, in which we had asked them, is Sikkim today, that is in 2017, is it carbon neutral, carbon negative, or carbon positive? And that was what they had to find. And so, having done that exercise, the good news was that Sikkim continued to be carbon negative in 2017. But steep decline in carbon negativity, from carbon negative to carbon positive, was on its way. Which means, and I firmly believe, that by 2022, if you actually draw the graph, we today should be carbon positive. And that's not the good news. But if you look at how then can we make destinations like Sikkim, or for that matter, Mahabalipuram or Vaishno Devi and every other place, then we have to do such life exercises in which we look at the entire process of how much of greenhouse gases is tourism actually responsible for, and is there a way in which we will be able to sequester as much carbon out of the atmosphere as possible. So, some of the way forward was introduce electric vehicles, was one of the recommendations, because the maximum amount of fossil fuel emission comes from petrol and diesel vehicles which are running in these mountains, and the Himalaya is not only choking out, but we are losing our permafrost as well as our glaciers at such a rapid rate that it will lead to other problems such as water security and other such like issues. Then we have to also think of how can we change behavior. Today it came very, very clearly, I think, from Mr. Verma's presentation, that behavior change is something which the entire industry as well as all of us stakeholders have to work with. So cooking gas, for instance, in the mountains is a no-no. Sikkim, for instance, we have so much of hydropower. Is there a way in which we can transform the household cooking to something what is happening in Bhutan, I believe, in which a large percentage of cooking, etc., and the use of energy is turned into electricity, found from electricity. And then finally, to sequester more, then we have to ensure that whatever forests we have to keep on increasing. The 15th Finance Commission, if I'm not mistaken, has given ample funds to states like Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and others, and they moved it from, I think, 7.5% to 10% on the horizontal distribution, that we will receive far more funds for the forest upkeep as well as ensuring that we move in that direction. And finally, I'd like to leave you with one more thought. The Himalaya is our asset. It's the world's asset. We've got to look after it. And to do that, we definitely, and I would like to impress upon Mr. Arjun Singh, Mr. Rakesh Verma, that I think a very special treatment for the Himalaya is necessary in all the ways in which we have been talking. Just don't look at the size, but also look at the fact that the Himalaya means what it means in terms of water security for the entire downstream, entire country, as it were. The water security is dependent on the Himalaya. So with these words, I see the strategy moving in the right direction. I see that we all have to do our best, all of of us have to do our bit, and I cannot agree with Mr. Burgia more than saying that in the past we actually did what we did. We did it in a sustainable way, but we have moved very far ahead on the other side, and we should now try and move the clock a little back. So with these words, I will again thank the organizers for having me here. I hope I haven't jumped my time. Oh yes, I have by about a minute. Thank you very much for being patient, listening to me patiently, and hopefully all what we have done by taking that pledge will all be looking at sustainability as, and each of us must do our bit in this particular direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee. And ladies and gentlemen, before I invite our next speaker, for the benefit of the speakers, we will be ringing the bell at 14 minutes. Can we ring the bell once so that they know? Can we ring the bell once? This is the bell which will go on at 14 minutes so that 1 minute is ready for your time. So ladies and gentlemen, our next eminent speaker, Mr. Ravi Singh, is the Secretary General and Chief Executive Officer of the World Wide Fund for Nature, WWF India. And prior to his present responsibility, he worked with two international banks before moving to pursue the larger cause of conservation. As head of WWF India, he contributes to conserve biodiversity, promote sustainability, and provide leadership to the organization while working on key facets of nature conservation. And ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Sri Ravi Singh to share his experience regarding protection of biological diversity, which is an important part of environmental sustainability. Over to you.
To express my thanks for this honor to address all of you to see this kind of a session and share some experiences and thank the government of India for bringing this all together. Arun Singh, thank you for this and thank you for your address. I missed some of the speeches for which thank you for your guidance. I'll refer to some of the points that were mentioned. I've always thought of looking back. It's not possible for us to envisage where we were 15 years ago. And Steve talked about much earlier times. But when we started looking at ideation and looking at policy guidelines, interacting, tourism, also the great conflicts between sectoral areas, between issues of protection and conservation and environment, I think the argument is all over this. And now, generally in a larger sense, I see a much greater convergence. And this is what I want to talk about. India is sort of seeing a different image of itself. It is emerging as an exemplar in different areas. And I see it from my little window, where I work on conservation environment. We are taking leadership in climate change. We are taking leadership in innovation, where we work across thousands of examples of we are going to mitigate, issues of climate change in our country through different areas of industry, businesses, innovations, institutes, science institutes of technology, and we are not marketing it properly. We are an exemplar in many areas that other people follow. I can guarantee you that this national strategy that we presented today will be read very, very carefully But a lot of nations who read and look at us as leaders, not only in South Asia region, also in Southeast Asia, also in Africa and in Latin America. And I think this is some of the image that we must understand of ourselves when we look at aspects of tourism. And I'm not talking about international tourism, I'm talking about domestic tourism as well. Because we also see when we go to a place an image of ourselves. Some of us go to see these places because we have an image of our heritage, of our culture, of our religion, history. So we go and see an image there, which we like to see a better image. We like to come back with it. So, to a large extent, I would like to speak about the fact that we need better experiences, both from the point of view of those who are investing in their time in those experiences, and those aspects and sectors that are receiving that experience. And I'm talking about biodiversity, talking about wildlife, talking about natural areas. And the policies that is there cover the whole ground. So the 7 pillars of strategy cover most of the aspects we've spoken about in the last 10 years. And slowly we are moving in a particular direction. We have captured the sustainable development goals in that aspect, which we never would have thought we would happen. Because that was a different pillar. This is a different pillar. This is, we're looking for accreditation as an industry, or we're looking at different aspects of homestays, or coming to that. I've seen human conversations, business conversations move in a particular direction. There is a planetary movement towards a better planet. So we look at conversations that we had Millennium Development Goals, where nature, environment, or we had one possible paragraph. Now we have sustainable development goals, but a number of those points we want to achieve are actually for the better. And tourism policy is actually reflecting this is somewhere important. I still feel there's a lot more to be done in terms of community participation and also in planning, obviously not on the national level, but certainly at the state. I feel communities sometimes feel a bit left out, and our experiences with them, the interactions in states of India, certainly in Sikkim, Arunachal, where we have contributed to the development of some of the thinking on tourism policy and the access to some of these areas, and to development of things like the community conservation area, CCA, the protection of forests through community participation, and the access of tourism as a result of that. These interactions, the communities should be clarified that they are not just an adjunct to tourism as a policy, but should be a part of it. And somehow, some of those aspects I need to emphasize a bit more because those are missing. I also see the need for more documentation, the need for better interpretation, world-class interpretation centers, not as museums. The world-class interpretations are missing from our country. And we are so creative, and we can develop that without too much. And this creativity needs to be unleashed to some extent, away from just looking at it from a government policy, bringing in many other people from different parts of the society. I miss, to some extent, the aspect of setting self-standards. It was mentioned in one of the presentations, to my great delight, that we've got this kind of initiative and we will self-assess ourselves and set standards with certification, also self-certification. As an example, we take from these aspects. And since senior people are here, I'd just like to mention this particular aspect. I've also felt that because of the excessive costs that have been there for the last maybe 8-10 years and going forward, genuine unaffordable for certain sections of our society. And we must try and change this to some extent so that they can participate in seeing the best part of their nation, go out to explore areas. They find it difficult, and I think we need to look at that, gap to some extent. I see this as an aspect of the how there are many possibilities. Many people we can look at it. We can perhaps also help in development. I also felt from time to time in our work on wildlife that local community visitation in some of these areas needs to be better. Some states do it. They take buses, take people from the local village, see this in Assam, see this in other village, and take them to the national parks and sanctuary, show them that this is what we are trying to protect, and this is what we need to do. And some of the children, they can never forget this one. When they see an elephant, a group of elephants, when they see I've seen it myself, the interaction that they have with each other after they see a salmon perform, and to their great delight, a bear, a tiger. I mean, it's immensely changing for them, and this they become, in a way, much more responsible for the area. And this visitation is a different form of tourism, and I'd like to think a little bit about that when I talk about this. And I'm sorry to bring this up, but I cannot help because it's an example. We need to have better facility for the elder. And the people also like to go to some places. We need to have better facilities for the disabled. And disabled facilities, to understand, they are a little on the low side, and that needs to improve. I'm sorry, I'm diverting from the main aspect. India has some examples of ecotourism at its best. I'd like to say that I've looked at ecotourism examples both for RTSOI and for my own understanding and work from Brazil, from East Africa, from Southeast Asia and others. None of those examples actually really, apart from the concept, feeds into the work that we have, or the kind of examples of products that we have to develop our own. We have developed our own, and some of them are outstanding examples. And therefore, rather than look for other examples in East Africa or wherever, I think to take this forward is something that's important. For me, tourism is a form of nation building. It gives an initiative to young children, to school-going people, to younger generation to go out and explore the country, to go and see it and understand and interact with it. And thereby, by creating and using tourism as a medium, creating a kind of a union with your country, which somehow does not exist anywhere else. And to that extent, I think it's a great positive, and we need much more encouragement from where it is today. From Government of India's work, I completely agree with what Indira Sahab said about the fragility of the Himalayas, the fact that we are accessing those areas. Those are beyond if this kind of thing goes on. At the same time, it's not all gone. I've seen sacred lakes that were full of plastic removed because of community participation. For some reason, a lot of convergence that happens. For instance, we are working together with a number of people, some of you are involved in an initiative for removal of unnecessary plastic. In over a period of time, because of the creation of certain supply chain mechanisms, you do not see plastic bottles lying on the edges of clothes anymore to the extent that we saw before. Because of the supply chain that's taking them out. So, Himalayas, some places we've seen this kind of change happen, and tourism can actually bring those sacred lakes back. It takes thousands of years for development of wildlife. It takes very little for it to change. I'll just take one more thing. There are some areas that you need to look at. It's a little bit more careful. Wetlands in rivers. Rock shelter beach. Fossil parks. These need specialized access and guidance. And talking about products, Delhi in prehistory was one of the mega cities of the world. A lot of the those areas are still there as they were. And these need careful preservation and visitation. And some of these can relate directly to the kind of biodiversity that we want to go. I would see that we are in a place where we should have been many years ago. I think that we can make a change, and tourism and the kind of policies that we're looking at today can make a kind of change that we wanted to be. We would like to have seen a lot of time back. Climate change is the point that we need to get more aware, and some of the visiting areas are those examples that we come back with, and perhaps that will make a difference in the last 8 years. I have many more things to talk about: footfall, income, changes in society and social needs, changes in the way we require people to have more income in their hands, examples of girl guides, examples of people earning money for their boys to go to college. And a lot of this has happened because of the examples that you have set. There's a lot to do, a lot to work, and a lot to share. But thank you for all this, and thank you for being sensitive to issues of heavy footfall and for the fragility of the areas that we're looking towards protection. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, indeed, sir, for that address and for highlighting on the need to support the conservation of the natural areas, habitats, and wildlife. And ladies and gentlemen, coming up, our next eminent speaker, Ms. Abhanarayan Nama, is an Indian conservationist, architect, and has restored several of India's UNESCO World Heritage sites, and is a practicing conservation architect and recipient of the numerous awards. Her firm has been included in the top 50 architects list by the Architectural Digest and Construction World since 2014, and the restoration of the Lal Bagh Palace has won the International World of Wonders Top 20 list of Architectural Digest USA. And she is a consultant to ICCROM, a Global Heritage Fund, and World Monuments Fund, is on the Governing Council of the Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, and has served on the heritage committees of both Delhi and Mumbai. And may I now invite Ms. Abhanarayan Nama for her talk on the highlighting the role of heritage conservation in promoting socio-cultural sustainability. Over to you.
Shri Arun Singh, Secretary Tourism, distinguished speakers and guests, thank you and good afternoon. I would like to first begin with, I'd like to begin with the question of what is sustainable. For all of those among us who were born before the 1980s, I think we were all sustainable families and households. We used to collect newspapers and use that as rasi for packaging. If you went to buy a samosa, you would wrap it in a newspaper. Old clothes were swapped for utensils, or after being used from cousin to cousin to cousin over various years. So we were really net zero carbon footprint families. We would grow peas, we would shell the peas, have mutton gajars during the right season, not store-bought, and the shells would be given to the cow. The manure from the cow would be used to grow peas again. So we were really talking about a sustainable cycle. When we look at things today, the question is, sustainable tourism really needs to look at that full cycle. We need to close that cycle. So if we're looking at Jaipur, do we bring the visitor to see the authenticity of the monument, or are we bringing him to glass and Alcobond hotels? The question is really something that applies to every state, and I'd like to right in the beginning make a disclaimer that if we have, I'm using a typical photograph, it's only to highlight a case. It's not really critiquing any state. But we really need to see that when we are bringing heritage tourists to our destination, are we giving them fake, prestige, Alcobond, glass kind of buildings because they are rapidly replacing our historic architecture with complete modern and non-carbon sensitive architecture. Post-pandemic, the trends of tourism have changed. We see more of eco-tourism, wilderness tourism, wellness tourism, but especially authentic tourism, because we've had enough of that synthetic, fake tourist experience. We want to see the real deal. So if somebody's coming to India from abroad, the question is, he can go to Las Vegas and see a fake Venice, but he's coming to India to see the real India. So the question is, when we're looking at internationally, getting on top of the game, we're really competing with international sites, whether it's, and our numbers are not insignificant. We have millions coming to the Taj. Perhaps we can smartly outshine other nations like Cambodia or even very large mega destinations. The question is, are we so overwhelmed with mass tourism numbers that we are catering to the common lowest denominator? And really, when it becomes a supply chain issue, are we on top of the game? For example, across the world, internationally, they realize they don't want the trashy tourist. There are countries, there are destinations who are clear, they do not want the backpacking, hippie tourist who's going to not spend money on that local destination. They would rather have smaller numbers, and the elite, the traveler that you want to target as your audience is the heritage traveler. These profiles is they're affluent, they have more spending power, they're older, they're educated. They tend to stay longer in one site. They support the local economy because they want to buy local, they pay enough for good craftsmanship. They don't want mass-produced cheap fake copies. They don't want printed bandhani on synthetic. They want handcrafted bandhani, and they're willing to pay top dollar. So for every state, the states need to really do an audit. What kind of tourism are we bringing in? When we look at the tourist numbers, is the number that counts or the value that counts? Do we want our tourists to just fly into a country, into a destination, see it for the day and fly out the same day? Or do we want to actually make him stay longer? Now, sometimes I really question when the idea of a pilgrimage used to be you want to go to Badrinath or any other site, you would spend a long time traveling. It was an arduous journey because the journey in our culture was important, not necessarily the destination. But it's a smart idea. Why? Because if you're traveling by foot, you're taking off time, you're engaging with the local economy, with the local community, you are buying products, you're eating, you are actually giving money back into the local economy. If I have tourists fly in and fly out, what are they seeing? It's like a quick darshan and get the hell out of there. I don't even think the whole point of having these great temples in these really arduous destinations was enjoy the journey. So when we are internationally, there's a way to target your heritage traveler. The idea is give him an authentic experience. Don't give him a fake concrete arch and a fake multi-cut jali covered in aluminum bonds. Give him the real deal, and that's why heritage conservation becomes important. International destinations are sometimes much smarter. I visited, I was doing my fellowship in 1998 in the UK, and way back in the early 90s, the city of Bath, which is a World Heritage Site, had got the formula right. They did sustained surveys for a full decade and then figured out what kind of tourist profile they really want to bring in. The first thing is that they're a World Heritage Site. Now, the international heritage traveler is a discerning traveler, and they pick World Heritage Sites on their go-to destinations. It is not a coincidence that China started flooding the UNESCO World Heritage Sites with nominations. Why? Because they know the value that if you have a World Heritage Site, you are bringing in the discerning traveler. India today has 40 World Heritage Sites. Bath was a World Heritage Site for a long time, but they actually did a complete survey and assessed that they need to aim high, and art should be world class, focus on value and not on volume. And I listened to one of the tourism department people in Bath giving a talk, and she said, we are targeting dinks. And this is 20 years ago, and I had no idea what dinks means. And it was double income, no kids. And they were targeting dinks and empty nesters, that are affluent people who have reached where they are, their children are studying in university, they have the time and the money to go book themselves in great experiential environments. So if 20 years ago, Bath had got the formula right and were targeting dinks and empty nesters, so many of our destinations are still dealing with just massive footfall, overwhelmed by just the number of tourists that are coming who are really not contributing to the local economy. So the culture package consists, and internationally, whether it's Greece or Morocco, all these countries know what they have to offer. Archaeological sites, monuments, historic neighborhoods, traditional villages, museums, living traditions, traditional markets, cuisine, gastronomy, festivals, crafts, music, intangible heritage. But if you put all of them together, our country with a built heritage of over 4,000 years has more to offer than all of these other nations put together. It's just that we need to be smarter about it. So the heritage game, how do you get on top of the game? Think out of the box. Draw the right profile of the international tourists, engage them for longer. Other tourists tend to touch spots and run from one tour destination to the other, and heritage tourists tend to stay longer, 3 to 7 days. Invest in cultural infrastructure. And your cultural infrastructure is not just roads and airports. Your cultural infrastructure are people, places, crafts, museums, authentic experiences, curated experiences. And the most important is to save the setting. I always wonder that do we expect that our tourist is going to be blindfolded at Delhi railway station or at other railway station and then directly taken to the gate of Red Fort or Taj Mahal, and then the blindfold will be taken off so he can say, wow, Taj, what about that journey? Smelly railway stations, smelly urinals, bad traffic, ribbon commercial development, dusty roads, people heckling them, and really terrible urban chaos that we have all inflicted with unauthorized construction. That is what we need to start. We need to up our game to go beyond the monument at the larger setting, and especially one basic thing, clean toilets. Whichever project I take up, whether it's a public building or a museum, the first thing I do is upgrade your toilets. Just give them clean toilets and then talk about us being an international tourism destination. So when we look at examples of foreign destinations, Angkor Wat, Tiger's Nest, all of these countries know what their packages are that they are delivering. To build heritage, which is monuments, neighborhoods, townscapes, natural heritage, cultural landscape, and intangible heritage. We, as I had earlier said, really have the best. We have the best of everything. But again, some destinations we have to be a little more picky about. Look at Lake and look at the number of visitors. Can we sustain, can all such destinations sustain the kind of flood of tourists that come? And in our race for more tourism, are we actually depleting that very place that they want to see? In 2009, I was preparing the management plan for Ajanta Caves. And as a consultant to the Archaeological Survey of India, we actually said that when you come to Ajanta Caves, and every visitor wants to take that full circle of horseshoe, the first two caves that they go to are Ajanta Cave 1 and Cave 2. They have the best paintings. They have the Gupta period, the most amazing and fragile paintings, but they are on mud. Every 4 tourists who come, the humidity increases and you're actually risking that very addition between the mud and stone coming off and not using that painting forever. It's the same fragility of most of our sites. So, should we look at the Bhutan model, at least for Himalayan sites, at least for the Northeast? And in a world that's becoming more globalized, it's authenticity versus prestige. What will become priceless is our surviving cultural uniqueness. We need to preserve the authenticity through cultural conservation. We need to look at fragile ecosystems before it's too late. We need to look at mechanisms to avoid over-commercialization. And we cannot work in isolation. So the tourism department of every state or country is like the front desk of a hotel. Let's say we are in the Ashoka Hotel, and the tourism department is really the front desk. We're talking to foreign visitors, we're trying to make sure everybody is comfortable. But in the back end, housekeeping is not keeping the room clean. F&B is a mess. There's cockroaches running around. If the air conditioner does not work, finally, it's the tourism department that's facing the onslaught of bad reviews. The question is, should we not use some sort of an audit where actually tourism at the center can question every state's urban development department? Do you have heritage guidelines and urban guidelines in place? Local municipalities, are you keeping it clean? Roads, civil aviation, just for feedback, because eventually all this adds up to the final review. The foreigner who's coming in is going to review how maybe your toilets were. Did they feel safe or not on those streets or not? So what we're doing is our brand value product and packaging is what tourism is doing. But this is what we are showing up, and this is what we really see. So what do you do when our cities are a mess? This is the picture that we're selling on our postcards as Incredible India. But what do we do if the solid waste management is not in place? And I think now in 2022, it's time we address the elephant in the room. We cannot be putting these picture postcards unless we get this done. We have this Himalayas. To the left is what it used to be. So 100, 200 years ago, we had urban design caveats. There was a height restriction. There was how wide you could bring it. And today what you see is alcohol. Why do I want to go visit Himalayas if this is the experience I get? It's the story repeats everywhere. Unchecked commercialization, an absence of bylaws is what we are losing out. So my question really here is, we need to start rebooting our tourism policy, connecting it back to the cities, going back to urban signage controls, making sure our sites don't have this. We are losing Shekhawati. Why? Because this is privately owned heritage. The people, the Haveli owners are fragmented and across the world. And still in our country, the government says tourism money cannot go to these Havelis because they are privately owned. अरे भैया अगर आपका foreign tourist आएगा आप उसको कहेंगे नहीं ये मत देखना सर ये private है वो देखो वो government है उसको पूरा शहर दिखता है वो he is going to see if you have a heritage structure it should not the funding of a piece of facade should not be based on ownership whether it's private or not. Look at our hill stations. Look at we have Kashi. Why should pink structures like this look in concrete? If we've already messed them up, let's try and at least do facade restoration of these important streetscapes. And restoration and facade controls are also as good as whatever you're able to save. So this is Delhi. This is a couple of kilometers away from where we are. Why can't these Havelis be restored lovingly through tourism money? Because eventually it's what it's seen. Swadesh Darshan projects should not build concrete structures in Ladakh and then try and cover them up. They should not build alcohol. It should be incumbent on the state that only mud or only traditional architecture, traditional craftsmen and traditional materials will be used for Government of India tourism funded projects. If that was the case, firstly we're giving our foreign tourists an authentic experience. अगर उसको concrete structure देखने जाना है वो वहीं पे ठीक है. Why is he coming to India versus Dubai? So I will close with that and then finally say let's get more innovative. Let's get low footprint buildings. Let's start looking at secular monuments. This is a Photoshop. We're trying to show you that even in a caravanserai, which is a Mughal period, you can have a tented camp. You can have curated cultural experiences. This is a project that we did through Swadesh Darshan
very much indeed, ma'am, for the very nice presentation on the role of heritage conservation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have come to the final presentation of this session, for which we have with us today Dr. Sabrin Sen, who is a graduate in bioscience and a postgraduate in tourism administration. He is one amongst those first 10 tourism professionals of India. He obtained a PhD in wildlife tourism management from Uttar University, and Dr. Hussain, having more than 25 years of teaching, research and consultancy experience, I would now like to invite him for his presentation on increasing competitiveness in tourism destinations through economic sustainability. Over to you.
Namaskar to one of our visitors here. Respected Secretary, Tourism, Government of India, Prince Sir, Additional Secretary, Rakesh Verma sir, Economic Advisor to Minister of Tourism, Government of India, Gyan Mission sir, Director IIT, Professor Alok Sharma, dignitaries on the dais, Mr. Swami Shah, here of the United Nations. Thank you, sir. I'm thankful to the Ministry of Tourism for giving me this opportunity for making a presentation on competitiveness of a tourist destination. As we know, India ranked 54th in the Travel and Tourism Competitive Index of World Tourism and Travel Council in 21, just before. We were 34th in 2020, and in 2019 we were 40th. And despite pandemic has brought us back in terms of competitive index, when we discuss about the competitiveness of the destination, ladies and gentlemen, it primarily refers to the ability of the destination to increase tourism expenditure, increasingly attract visitors, provide them true value for money in terms of experiences and satisfaction in a positive way, while ensuring well-being of the destination and all the stakeholders associated with it, while preserving the natural capitals of the destinations for future generations. What I'm trying to say is, tourism is a process of adding value to the experiences of an objective. To be more elaborate, what objective we were talking about, was primarily talking about the objective of a visitor when you plan to go to a destination, what you aspire to achieve, what you want to see economically, what you want to see environmentally, what you want to see socially, what you want to see culturally, and all a summation of all these things leads to the enhancement of the competitive ability of the destination. Primarily, we will be talking today is about the economic competitiveness of the tourist destination. And I'm discussing the case of Government of Odisha, Department of Forest and Environment, and Department of Tourism, and IIT. In collaborations, we have looked into this particular aspect of eco development committee members and done some wonderful exercise to raise the economic competitiveness of these people. I'll start my deliberations with this particular quote by Michael Porter. The important thing is to try and save the nature of competition to take control over your own destiny. This has been proved again and again by many. This has happened in the case of Apple, it's happened in the case of Cisco, Club Mediterranean, Disney, it has happened in the case of Taz, and Mango. You have to shape your own destiny and every destination is responsible for its own competitiveness. People who are managing the destination, they have to manage all these aspects to gain an edge over their competitors so as to create viable economic, social and environmental opportunities for the stakeholders and giving the right value for money to the visitors. When we talk about tourism competitiveness, in summary, what makes a tourism destination truly competitive is its ability to increase tourism expenditure, to increasingly attract visitors while providing them with satisfying, memorable experiences, and to do so in a profitable way while enhancing the well-being of the destination. When we talk about different dimensions, just like this, all the dimensions of destination competitiveness has been elaborated in this model by Ritchie and Couch. Here primarily we focus about two basic things, that is the competitive environment and global environment. I can go there, okay. Thank you. Customers in competitive environment, that micro environment, it encompasses the customers, suppliers, international facilitators, competitors, destination cultures, and interesting publics. Whereas the macro environment is about economy, technology, policy, political and legal advantages and disadvantages, social culture and demographic culture, and this is further associated with the comparative advantage and another one is your competitive advantage. Actually, in fact, this is the political era. Comparative advantage is about the ability, that is endowments, and competitive advantage is about the deployment. And all these things are associated with 5 core factors, that is supporting factors and resources, core resource and attractions, destination management, destination policy planning and development, and qualifying and amplifying determinants. This leads to the overall understanding of the competitiveness and sustainability of a destination. Let's have a discussion about the background about the case actually. We are talking about the initiation of community managed nature tourism in Odisha. The Forest and Environment Department of Odisha during the year 2016 launched an exclusive scheme for development of ecotourism, and in recent years the state has evolved as the only state in India to have adopted the community model of ecotourism. 47 ecotourism destinations have been created in different forest and wildlife areas covering 18 revenue districts of Odisha. These 47 destinations are the source of alternative livelihood for more than 600 households, each from one household. There has been 4-fold increase in the tourist footfall from 11,500 during 2016-17 to 46,019 during 1920. The increase in revenue has also been encouraging, that is 157 lakhs in 1670 to 685 lakhs during 1920. And if you look into the budget allocations of 2016-17, it was 1,600 lakhs. And if you look into the revenue generation in that year, it is just 157 lakhs. And if you see the budget allocation year-wise decrease from 1,600 lakhs to 1,299 lakhs, 854 lakhs, then 776 lakhs. Whereas the revenue generation is increasing. This indicates that the model is working well and it is doing good for the destination economic competitiveness. Primarily, Government of Odisha, Department of Forest and Environment focuses on these areas: infrastructure development, employment generation, facilities for ecotourists, promotions. Wide promotion was given, empowerment of travel agent and taxi operators, then infrastructure focus, for attracting high-end tourists to Odisha, because the focus area is to go for sustainable development of tourism and cause minimal negative impact on those destinations, as all these are eco-sensitive zones. So instead of inviting mass tourists, let us concentrate on the class of people who are interested to go for these kind of experiences. Then they have also reintroduced some species in one area called Bharatpur Chandaka landscape in order to revitalize the destination. Training and capacity building that was primarily taken care by IIT, then community mobilization and management of the state through ecotourism. And they developed this booking mechanism in a very transparent and a very efficient way, interactive way. There are chatbots available. Booking is very seamless, one-point payment, and there is no hassle in the booking. All the facilities, amenities, services provided by the forest department are clearly mentioned there, and there is no middleman. Booking is seamless. This particular experience is seamless. That's why it is being successful. Then in infrastructure point of view, total 47 eco-tour properties, they have created 333 routes, which can accommodate up to 1010 eco-tourists. And in employment generation, 10%, they have made specific arrangements regarding the revenue share. Like for example, 35% of the revenue share goes to the ETC waste of the salary, the eco-to-good salary. 25% goes to the recurring expenses, 10% goes to the infrastructure development, 10% to the EDCCR, online release to community, transparency is being maintained, 10% as a campus fund, and 10% government revenue. Out of that 10% also, that is being not taken by the government, it is being utilized for the maintenance of the portal and advertising of the eco-tour facilities. So this model is a very successful model, encouraging wide participations from rural and tribal women especially. Boosting voting facilities have been created in different eco-tour destinations. For safety of tourist takes and floating jetties have been constructed. Other activities like open jeep safari, cycling, birding, sports, all these facilities have been done. In all destinations, eco guides have been trained specifically by IIT, and they are doing well. Launching of website, online booking portal, as I have told you already, that it's a very efficient and transparent way of doing transaction. Social media promotions is a very success story in the case of eco-tourism destinations of Odisha. Photography fair was organized in Forest Department through which they can also advertise, and it was very successful. And reviving Bharatpur Chandaka landscape, this revival was done. Reintroduction of species has been considered. This place has been trail has been created in this place. So this is a wonderful initiative to re-energize, revitalize a wildlife destination which is at the peak of extinction. Community mobilization and management in the state through ecotourism, eco-development committees, Vana Samitis have been formed in all villages, and a core management committee, one person from each family, named as an ecotourism group, has been created for all destinations for managing the nature camps. A SOP has been prepared. A number of hospitality experts and site managers have been trained by IIT to look into day-to-day affairs of the ecotourism sites, to invite foreign photographers, ornithologists, bird lovers, wildlife enthusiasts. Chilika Bird Festival is being conducted every year. 500 people from across the globe goes there to see, photograph, and advertise the floral and faunal resources of the state of Odisha. This is a great push for promoting ecotourism resources and enhancing the economic competitiveness of the place. Capacity building, as I have already told, that IITM conducts various training programs in all the eco destinations. to engage any program we conduct. We give them input about biodiversity, about housekeeping, food productions, sanitation, in all aspects of travel and tourism, daily communication, posture, presentation, fine skills, all those things we give them. And nowadays the 6-month training program is also going on. Benefits of the communities managed in Odisha like livelihood support, employment, zero forest fire. Not a single forest fire has been noticed in those 47 locations because people are taking care of the locations themselves because they are really benefiting from it and it has become their livelihood. So directly they are conserving the landscape and the environment, aiding in conservation. Communities are running programs in each destination, like tourism businesses have been developed, and tourism businesses are providing job opportunities. Okay, madam, you want me to go conclude? Actually, it's a very big topic. I was the last speaker, so now I try to manage it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adit sir. And ladies and gentlemen, with that we close the proceedings of session 2. Once again, thanking all our speakers for the informative presentation and addresses we have given. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I invite all of you to kindly join us for lunch. The lunch break is for 15 minutes only. The next session will commence at 2 o'clock. I will request everybody to be seated 5 minutes before that. And lunch will be served